I'm joined by Mayor Kathi Hemken from the City of New Hope for an update of some things happening within the city. Welcome, Mayor. How are you today?
Fine, thank you.
I'm very good, and there's a lot going on in the city, so buckle up. We've got quite a few things to get through in the next few minutes. Let's start with a recent council meeting, Mayor. A lot of items discussed. Give us some of the highlights.
Well, we awarded some bids on the sewer lining projects that are coming. We did a joint powers agreement with the City of Crystal because we share a street, and when we redo the street, they do half and we do half, so we had to do that. Of course, there were some small items on the golf course and the ice arena, and then we had the 6027 West Broadway lot sold and picked the builder for that.
Very good. We're going to talk more about the golf course in just a little bit for golf fans. Let's talk a little bit about lake associations within the city. Some very influential and powerful groups within the city doing some great things to keep the water safe. Give us a little update of the couple associations in town and what they're doing.
Well, the Northwood Lake Association was going to meet this week. They've scheduled that for later in the fall when we can get together, but they are going to do their 5/16 meeting. The Friends of Northwood Lake pick up the park down there, and that's going to happen on the 16th of May. So if you want to help, bring your gloves and just show up at the park about 9 o'clock, pick up some trash. Now, the other thing is the Meadow Lake Water Association. They, of course, had to reschedule their meeting, but they're going to do a WebEx on that because they're doing a presentation on the drawdown of the lake, of Meadow Lake. And so the residents would want to see that. If they don't get information on that, they can always go on the website and get that and get onto that WebEx.
Very good. And let's give that website, newhopemn.gov. We'll give that throughout the recording here to keep you up to date of things going on in the city. Mayor, for people that live on the southern portion of the city next to Golden Valley, they might want to have a heads up here. Something's going to be happening that is kind of a seasonal thing in Golden Valley. Tell us about that. What's going on?
We got a note from Golden Valley saying they're going to have a controlled burn, and that's going to happen probably this week, depending on weather, maybe next week. It'll be south of Medicine Lake Road off of Winnetka behind those apartments. It'll be controlled, but you'll see some smoke, and just don't be too scared about that.
Very good. Good to give residents a heads up. Let's talk a little bit more back about COVID and talk about your management team within the city. Plans to reopen. We've been hearing about maybe possibilities from the state level. How is the city preparing and thinking about this as you get closer and closer to that happening?
Well, of course, to have that happen, you have to be prepared. So we're thinking about putting plastic shields in front of all the desks that have something to do with the public. They're working on how they can social distancing people. We'll probably have some people coming in, some working from home. We just need to have that worked out before we do that. We're not going to open City Hall at first. We'll just have the employees there, but the opening of City Hall itself will come later.
Very good. Let's talk about staff within the city of New Hope. There are some changes going on and also opportunity in a new position. Tell us about that.
We just hired a communications director or a coordinator. Her name is Beth Kramer. She's an internal hiree, so we're kind of excited about that. She started on the 27th of April, and we're looking for an office specialist in community development at the moment. So we'll be interviewing for that this next week.
And again, the city's website, a good place to go for that information. Speaking of the website, a lot of information there. Give us a quick laundry list. What are some of the highlights on the front pages of the website these days?
Well, there's lots. There's just lots going on. So you can read about the Arbor Day proclamation. You can sign up for Step to It. That's on the website. You can find out what parks what they can do at the parks and the dog parks that are open. Just want to caution people, if they do go to the parks, please don't be on the equipment. It's not sanitized, and if you bring your dog, pick up after your dog, please.
Let's talk a little bit about the city clerk and a few things happening related to elections. Give us a little information of the previous primary election and the presidential primary and also upcoming elections. What is the city looking at in those areas?
Well, we're looking at for some reimbursement for the presidential primary, and so she has to get those numbers together and send those into the Secretary of State. We're also getting some numbers together for FEMA reimbursement on the COVID-19 and what that's costing us. Of course, this is a very expensive thing we're doing. All cities are doing it. We have to do it.
More information to come on that, and we'll keep you up to date. Let's hop over to Public Works for a few minutes. It is that time of the year where things are happening around the city streets. One street to talk about is Winnetka Avenue. What is happening at Winnetka, and how's that coming along?
Well, they're finally wrapping up the sewer lining project. Some of this stuff just has to go on, and they're trying to keep their distance, but it just has to happen. They're looking at Boone and 42nd for signal replacement. They're starting to talk to MnDOT about a bridge over 36th and 169. That'll happen in 2025. Seems a long ways away, but it'll be here before you even know it.
Very true.
They're doing some seal coating on Boone. They're finishing up the restoration of the water tower, the North Water Tower. There's a lot going on with those guys.
Quickly, a little bit on street reconstruction. I know you wanted to mention a little bit about some of the projects that are coming up and the need in some of those cases for some tree removal.
Well, the complete street reconstruction, when we do that, we have to, of course, cut down. And when you cut down, those trees that are too close to the street, they just have to come down. Because what will happen is you cut the roots, and those trees will topple after a bit, or certainly they'll die. So those trees have to come down. We'll do some tree replacement, but not on that 15-foot setback, because they shouldn't have trees there. So those people will get a hand-delivered piece of information on the start of this project.
All right, and one other note is those hydrant bags that have been protecting the hydrants over the winter coming off. So another sure sign that spring and summer are definitely here. Let's talk Park and Rec, another sign of let's get outdoors. You saw quite a few people get outdoors to the golf course. Give us the latest golf course update.
We did. They were thrilled. They had 130 rounds on Saturday and 96 on Sunday. And, I get a nice view of what's going on at the golf course from up here. And they were doing a really good job of keeping people apart. They did everything electronically. You had to make a tee time electronically. You paid electronically. There was no cash being gone back and forth. Just one thing about the golf course, we are having a plant sale there. And so that's going to happen on the 16th of May. We're talking about how we're going to keep people apart. We can do that by just letting a few people at a time go in and look at the plants. We're trying to raise a little money for some extra flowers and trees for the golf course.
Very nice project. Let's move over to the pool project and the whole city complex project. How's the pool coming along, and what are some of the other things that are on the fringe of the pool that are also getting attention?
Well, they meet weekly with the pool and park project, but because there's so much going on, it just happens day and day. So they're finishing up some of the work on the parking lots. They're putting in the curbs. Of course, when you see that, it'll look like it's not done because they don't get that wear coat on till later. One of the things that's kind of exciting is they filled up the 50-meter pool to check for leaks. I haven't heard if there are any, but the pool is, they'll fill it up, they'll check for leaks, and then they'll drain it.
And City Hall sign also coming together, and also a retaining wall next to the cemetery. So the whole project seems to be coming together piece by piece.
It does. You should drive down Dylon Avenue because that's been fixed up for the hanging baskets. And as you're going, look to the west. You'll see the sign is there. If you go at night, you'll see that it's lit. So it's coming together piece by piece.
Excellent. Let's move over to community development, give people an update on a few things happening around the city. One is some mail that will be going out to residents around Cooper High School. Give us a reason for that mailing.
Well, last year we did a CUP for use of the stadium at Cooper. And we agreed to do a one-year review, and this is the 1 year. So we're sending out some information to residents around there so that they can give us some feedback. We want that feedback. We want to know how they're doing. I'm just reminding people, this is not our project, by the way. This is 281's project. Okay. We are just the overseer of this project. But we do want to hear how they're doing so we can help them correct anything that's wrong and give them some kudos if they're doing some stuff that's right. So they should see that information, and they can always go online and tell us what they think. They can always call me and tell me what they think. Or they can, I believe we're going to let them come to the meetings, but again, there'll be distances.
Okay, again, city's website, newhopemn.gov. Again, a lot of information about what else is coming up in community development. Let's move ahead. You're using technology to help show some insides of some homes, the Utah Avenue property. Tell us about this exciting use of technology.
Well, they're doing a virtual tour of the 3924 Utah property. We bought that, decided it was a good, strong house, but it needed a lot of updates.
Mhm.
And so we're going to market that house via emails and virtual showings of it. That should happen really soon.
Let's talk business networking if we can for a minute. And for businesses in the area, this is a great way to stay connected. What is that group up to here, and how often are they meeting and where?
They're meeting, we're doing it by Zoom. We're meeting
Right.
twice a week or twice a month, the first and third Wednesdays at 8:30 for the first and 2:30 for the third. If you don't get that information, if you're part of the business networking group, you'll get that information on how to get onto the Zoom call. If you don't get that, you can always go again to our website and they'll contact you with the right person and they'll get that information to you. Those are really helpful because I think we're getting a lot of good ideas from the businesses on what they need. One of the things that came out of that, of course, is the list of all the restaurants and where they're located in New Hope. And that's really important, the ones that are doing takeout.
Very good. Support those local businesses. A couple other community development notes. Home Energy Squad. This is something that might be a benefit for residents. How does this work?
Well, they can go online, get some information on that too. They'll get some information on how to get ready for that audit so that when we actually get this stay-at-home thing lifted, they'll be ready to come in and help them wherever they can.
Final note, we want to talk about Windsor Ridge. We've talked about it many times as we've discussed this area of the city of New Hope. How is the progress going there?
That's going very, very well. What they're doing is some of the inspections they're doing virtually. They'll take pictures, mail them in, we're looking at them. In some cases, they empty out workers from the house and our inspectors go in and inspect the things they need to. So the houses are being inspected. We're keeping our distance and we're just moving along with that project. That's a really beautiful project if you haven't seen it.
Yeah, that will be a fantastic addition to the city. Final note, we want to talk police and fire, just a few things coming up. Some coordination happening with other police and fire departments in the area. And this is something that's kind of been happening behind the scenes, but the different communities really do work together. Tell us how.
Well, they do. Well, because we have a joint powers agreement with Crystal on our fire department, they work very closely together. But we're also talking to other cities on what are they doing to protect their employees when they come back, their personal protection equipment. There's a mask drop-off Saturday, the 2nd of May at the fire station. So if they're making masks or they have some masks they want to drop off and share with us, we'd be happy to have them.
Very good. Well, Mayor, your laundry list was full today, so thank you for sharing all of that from the city of New Hope.
I just have a couple other things.
Sure.
One, I always want to thank staff. They are working so hard, and this is so difficult for them to do this. I also want to thank our citizens because they're doing what they're supposed to be doing. They're staying home. They're keeping their distance. I know this is hard for everybody, but this is our 6th week of this. So just hang in there for a couple more. Whenever it's safe, we'll get back out there. If we go out too soon, I think we're making a big mistake.
Mayor, thanks for your words today. And again, if you want more information about many of the topics the mayor touched on, newhopemn.gov. Mayor, thanks for your time. Talk to you again soon.
Thanks, Dave.
Learn more about the connection at ccxmedia.org and follow us on social media.